All right, 7 o'clock, call the meeting to order. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next we'll confirm quorum. I'll start and then I'll ask to my left, Jack, moving across the table. So Luke Freemuth, present.
Jack De Oliveira present. Mike Maddow present.
George Seaborn present.
Jim Campbell present.
All right. And with that, I'd like to welcome Jim, the newest member to the board. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Next order of business is the approval of minutes from our June 9th meeting. I'd enter. Sorry, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes of the regular meeting dated June 9th, 2026. Comment that I thought they were exceptional.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The exceptional minutes are accepted. Right. Next order of business is the Public Works Garage HVAC for the break room. So I'll turn it over to Rich.
Yep, just a quick backup. We took some quasi-used storage space that's in the town garage and turned it into a break room for the team so they can have a sort of a clean, organized space to have lunches and have meetings and stuff. So we did a lot of it out of last year's budget, little bits and pieces like inexpensive cabinetry and stuff like that. However, we were hoping to tap into the AC unit that was already in there that was providing AC for the offices, which were right below it. That didn't turn out to work out so well for us. We gave it a shot and it was throwing everything off, so we had to leave it. We went back and tried. We had some floor units hanging around. So we tried to do it with floor units. Still isn't enough with that metal roof right overhead and some hot weather. So what we would like to do is put a proper AC unit in there. We have 3 bids. The lowest bid is $8,850. And they go up from there. They go all the way up to 11,000. So we would like to make a request to approve spending the $8,850.
Are all the bids comparable as far as equipment and whatnot?
Yes. Yep. They weren't originally. We went back through and evened everything up, made sure it all looked right.
And where is this gonna be financed now?
Contingency?
Which we have sufficient.
Could also take it from the capital reserve, couldn't we?
Could, yeah.
Yes, there is money in the capital reserve. Both the one that's undesignated, but there's also the equipment line under Public Works. Was really intended more for truck type equipment, but
I would support taking it from a capital line.
Yeah.
And keeping the contingency
Yeah, that
line,
makes sense.
but it's up to y'all.
Rich.
Oh, yeah, by the way.
So if I'm understanding this, the break room is sort of in a loft area.
Yes, it's above the office. Yep, of the office.
Oh, okay, I got you. Is the ceiling insulated at all? Do we know how much, I mean, is that part of the problem?
I think Brian's on.
Right, sensible.
So,
It's just in a loft area with the heat and that.
yeah. Just,
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, discussions? Then I'd entertain a motion to approve an expenditure of
850.
$850 as it relates to installing an HVAC system in the town garage break room to be funded out of designated capital.
Contingency funds.
No,
No.
we're moving to from capital.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is correspondence regarding the Board of Education budget overrun for the 25-26 fiscal year. So a bit of background. As the Board of Education was closing their books for the 25-26 fiscal year, it was noted that there were some significant overruns as it relates to a myriad of different reasons. These overruns, a small portion of which were communicated to the Board of Finance, a large amount which were not. So because of this, we've tried to get a better understanding of what's going on with regards to the expenditures, the magnitude of the expenditures, what they relate to, and trying to understand what offsets we might have as a town. And then also what the impact might be going forward in the 26-27 budget year. So a lot of work was done to try to understand what exactly occurred, and as a result, we have Adela here to walk us through some of the items, which you can see, it might be tough to see on the board there, but we've called out high-level line items to understand what the variances were from budget to actual spend for the period. And what we've determined is net all in, including encumbrances as of the end of the year, which are essentially open POs that we haven't written checks for yet, but relate to the 25-26 year, that we have an overage of about $496,000. We have some explanations for what those are. I just want to point out that within that overage of 496,000 includes some shortfalls as it relates to, or I'm sorry, some benefits as it relates to some spending freezes and other initiatives that were taken by the Board of Education throughout the year. So those were savings of about 190. So really what you're looking at is, if you gross up the overages, it's closer to $700,000. So what we'd like to do now is invite Adela up to walk us through what our current understanding is of these overages. What I'd like to say is that what we're hoping to accomplish today is to make you guys aware of what's going on, make the board aware of what's going on, where we stand right now, and with the intention to leave here today and let the Board of Education leave here today to try and get a better understanding, because we're still working through it. We have some people that aren't around, that are on vacation right now. So to continue to get a better understanding of what happened in 25-26, and further from that, how it will impact 26-27, and more importantly, how they can task themselves to get the 26-27 budget back to the place where back to the amount that the taxpayers approved when we did our budget just a short time ago in the budget season. So we'll start with the 25-26 to make everybody aware of kind of what's happened, what culminated throughout the year, and then we'll continue our discussion with the 26-27 after that. So Adela, if you wouldn't mind coming up and just providing us some color as far as what the line items, that'd be great. Yes, appreciate that. Yeah. She's a pro. She's been there before.
All right, but first I would like to add, I assumed this role in October, so I'm working with a budget that we have that was actually developed by Tracy, but she did an impeccable job and very supportive. But the shortfall stems mainly from the following accounts. The first one is Object 200, Employee Benefits. The overrun amount is $282,418. This stems from the number of enrollees increased following open enrollment and due to new hires start coming in at higher rates. Also, this is documented in the July 25 Business Manager Report. The initial amount that was projected to be an overrun was 89,000. But because of qualifying life events, employees adding on additional people to the existing health plans due to adding on spouses or newborns, that overrun has increased to almost $300,000. The next one is other professional tech services. It's the legal services to support the pupil services department and also other related matters such as employee issues and contract negotiations. But I'd like to point out, we have a significant change in legal service fees. We went from $225 an hour to $430 an hour. So that's double. So it contributes to the overrun.
Was there a change in vendor, I'll say?
Yeah.
Correct. So we went from $225 per hour for legal services to $430. So that contributes to the overrun. Next, we had
Do you
on.
have a question, John?
Oh.
I would think that that is gonna continue through this next budget year unless the Board of Education changes the firm that they're using and gets somebody back a little bit cheaper. I don't know, unless you're getting a lot better service. Are you getting twice as good a service?
Well, respectfully, I would have to ask Nate to respond to that question. I was not part of bringing on the new attorney.
Yeah.
That occurred in November.
Would you have to see, yeah.
Yeah, when it comes to our legal services, we as a board, we vote on that every 2 years. So that's set to stay the same in terms of who is providing our legal counsel. We did change, we stayed the same with Shipman and Goodman for special education. For all other legal services, that's what the change was.
So what are we anticipating the budget for 26-27 to be increased by for legal?
So George, before we get into that. And we can certainly ask that question, but the intent here is that they're gonna have to go figure that out. Because I don't know that with regards to some of these, I don't know that they have all the answers yet as it relates to 26-27. But I'll let you answer it, but what I would say is that, yes, the legal fees will be higher. I know that they increased the legal budget, but I don't know that they increased it enough. But the idea here is that we're gonna go ahead and walk through these items. Good question, something that I think they need to take away and answer that as they pull together how they intend to meet the 26-27 budgeted amount.
Oh, thank you. When it comes to, I mean, obviously that's something we'll have to discuss. I think with this, big part of the conversation is making sure that we're budgeting for an accurate amount of hours. What I will say with the new vendor, I mean, us being over budget on the legal line is not uncommon, even with the previous vendor this time of year. Last time, want to say we were over budget 100, not at where we're at. And again, I'm not talking about special education, I'm talking about just regular
You're over on
representation.
Tuition in another line item, or you're over on legal fees in another line item by another $70,000.
Correct.
So you're actually over legal fees this year by 100.
Yes, I'm talking special education
Yeah.
aside, just because of the only place where we did change.
Yep.
And I assume that you have a contract with them. Is it a 2-year contract?
Yes.
Okay, and then as it relates to the 200, I just want to go back one item, as it relates to the 282,000. We were aware of 90,000 of it, for which we planned in our budget from a contingency perspective to cover that amount. So really what we're looking at is that 190 that we weren't aware of, that we didn't have a chance to plan for.
Oh, can I just add one thing to make sure and I wrote it down? So I started in February. The business and financial report showed a financial table titled Budget Shortfall. And it started out with the health benefits account line with the 89,674 that Tracy projected. But I also included that in March. And I added two things, public tuition for almost 50,000 and the emergency care at the center school, 34,000. So I was transparent as well as in April, I identified those accounts and those amounts as well. But then in May, we got closer to the end of the fiscal year. I actually quoted the health benefits account line has a negative balance of $309,339.39. There was an issue with one of the invoices. That's why it came a little lower. But I tried to be transparent. It's noted if you look at on the website, I started in February and ended in June because I wanted this to be on everyone's radar.
Yeah. Which I think communication and conversations is something else that we need to discuss as far as.
Absolutely. You and I have discussed
Yeah.
that, and I agree.
Yeah, and with regards to the 34,000 as it relates to, I think it was HVAC repairs, we were made
Right.
aware of that.
It was
And we
unexpected at
also-
the center school.
Yeah, we also took that into account from a contingency perspective. So, and we'll get to that.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, and the last one I would like to highlight is that we have a budget run in the tuition line because we had an unexpected expense of $71,000 that was not budgeted for in fiscal year 26. It was a special education services for a student.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
those are kind of hard to anticipate and budget for those outplacements. So that amount was not included in the fiscal year 26 budget.
Yeah, and again, I think that we'd want to make sure that that's considered in the 26-27 budget, because if I remember correctly, in the 26-27 budget, special education was actually reduced as a budget line item.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, so I just want to, express concern that if that was an overrun in the current year, that we're considering it in the 26-27, as you guys take a look at that. All right, so two line items that we didn't focus on are the top two, the certified personnel and non-certified personnel, which is an overrun of approximately $200,000 when combined. If you could just walk us through.
So I'll start with certified salaries. I discovered at the BRS, the regular teacher salary budget line was underfunded. As a result, there's an overrun of $107,000. I also researched that one teacher came in, it was hired at a higher rate, so that contributed to the $170,000. Also, in terms of the high school, the student activity fund, that was under budget. So as a result, the overrun is close to $67,000.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
Pupil transportation. Was that caused by special needs?
Correct.
Okay. So I guess the next step is that the Board of Ed is gonna have to tell us what they're gonna do about this year's budget. Because as I look at this, all the savings, it looked like came out of direct contributions to learning. Technology, software, instructional equipment, supplies, library books. And that's where all the savings were. And like, as Luke said, without those, we would have had a much bigger overrun.
Mhm.
So are you planning to do the same thing this year? With all of those same lines to cut them all back?
I think that's a question that they're gonna need to take away and answer.
Well, I'm
next
just
week,
asking
but
the
yeah.
question. Hopefully
Yeah.
they'll answer it next time we see them.
Yeah.
So it, to me, I don't hear anything about what you're gonna do. And we've had a couple months where you've known that this problem's existed. And I think that there may have to be some special meetings in Board of Education to figure out how you're gonna cut your budget.
Yeah, I think I think that what we're actually looking for is not necessarily them cutting their budget, but them pulling together a budget that's in line with the budget that the taxpayers approved.
I don't know how you get to that unless you cut it.
Understood. All right, so. Anybody down here have any questions? Okay. So. If we go down a little bit, Trace, I
Next page?
think, no,
Not yet.
no, so what we have done is we've looked at some remediation items that do exist as it relates to this $496,000. So there is a 2% lapsing fund that currently exists. That is generally a fund that the Board of Ed has discretion to utilize. We would ask that they consider using that as a revenue to offset some of these expenditures, overrun expenditures. In addition to that, the HVAC repair was already covered in contingency. I think we need to add in the contingency that we would allocate to the known increase in benefits, the benefits line, the 90,000,
Oh,
89,000.
Yep.
I guess the other question is within that 200 in those first two line items, does that include the AFSCME
Retro pay.
retro pay?
No,
Okay, where is that?
you mean in this shortfall?
Yeah,
No, from my understanding, you all are giving us that, the retro payments.
so the payments aren't in here.
No,
They haven't been paid yet?
I mean, the retro, it's still in process.
Okay.
Megan is still doing those, not yet,
They haven't been paid yet.
no. I can get
Okay.
that amount to you probably next week.
So that wouldn't be an offset here because the
No.
expenditure's not in there. Yep. Okay. So maybe we can update those amounts as we circulate it back to these guys.
I would have something to add.
Yep,
In terms of remediation, the drip funds, so that's 64,000 that can help offset the shortfall.
Isn't that in
I
the
didn't
new
see-
budget though? Cause you've already used the 25,
Yeah,
26
but then-
grant funds.
Yeah, but it's coming in March, so I think that will help us for this coming year.
Right.
the one,
Yeah.
the one thing I want to caution us about in using, and we've had this discussion in the past as it relates to other revenues, is using special revenues to offset current year budget amounts. Because then what that does is that's going to create an automatic increase next year when we don't have those revenues to offset it. So you actually are putting yourself behind the 8 ball to the extent you're planning on those funds, because those funds aren't going to be there next year, if that makes sense. So as you think about drip funds or any other specially allocated funds from the state, to be utilizing those to try and fix this problem is only going to make the problem. This is going to defer the problem to the 27, 28 budget. Okay, is there anything, Tracy, is there anything else that you can think of as far as remediation items that we haven't talked about?
You know what I forgot to ask you and I thought of it last night and I should have called you back. Okay. Did you move money out of the pay to play account?
No.
I don't think we did. Let's take a look at that.
Okay.
There may be some, it's gonna be small.
Yeah.
But I think we
It can help.
budgeted to use about 10 or 15,000 of that to help offset the athletic trainer.
And then of course, the thing that we talked about earlier was the encumbrances and making sure we reconcile those.
Worked on some of
Yeah,
that.
we adjusted that a little bit today. The
Okay.
ones that she knew that would close, we did. There's just some that we don't know yet until
Right.
people come back from vacation.
Yeah, fair.
That is a priority.
All right. So we'll continue to polish these numbers up as we plan to meet again in the next couple weeks. So then moving on to the 26, 27 budget. So what you'll see here is it was really just kind of high level. Albeit a little archaic, where I took the 26 actual spend and just added 2.5%, which was the budget increase for the period. to see, you know, if you just added 2.5% to the 26 spend, where does that get us? Versus the 27 budget that's already been approved. And what that shows is a shortfall of $580,000. So appreciating that some of these items might be one-time items. But I think really what we need to do, or what the Board of Education needs to do, is really sharpen the pencil and try to get a good understanding of what levers can be pulled, what initiatives can be had to get us back in line with the budget that was approved by the taxpayers in the last budget cycle. So I don't know if anybody there, we haven't talked remediation items or anything like that, because we'd like the Board of Ed to take this back and work on that over the next few weeks before we meet again. But I don't know if anybody has any. So to your point, George, this is when we'd ask them to look at that legal line and make sure that what they're actually having this for in this budget is what they actually expect. Appreciating that they've been over before, but we're really trying not to do that anymore. So I don't know if you guys have any questions on that process or that view, or what you, or any comments on what you would like to see in the next iteration of this.
I'd like to ask Nate, when can you hold a special meeting? You don't want to wait another month.
So right now we'll have some conversations on that. Obviously going to want it sooner rather than later. I can't really say a date right now.
I talked to Nate briefly. We're trying to put a meeting on as soon as we can, appreciating that certain people can and can't be here at certain times. But I think that if anything, what we would expect is at least to check in at our next regular meeting in 2 weeks to talk through progress on the items that we're discussing today. And then once they've had a chance to meet and devise a plan, then we'll schedule another special meeting to walk through where we are in alignment with the 26-27 budget.
I'd like to ask if the Board of Education has taken any steps at this point, for instance, a freeze in non-essential spending for this next budget year.
So I spoke to Superintendent Cost. We do have some plans in place that we're going to speak to Nate about. And some of those things are, like you said, a spending freeze and a hiring freeze. So we're going to come up with a plan. When we meet in 2 weeks, you'll have better results and better numbers.
One question.
Yeah, fire away.
These line items that we highlighted tonight, are they typically coming in above budget, over budget annually, or?
Legal tends to.
Legal definitely tends to.
Yeah. Professional services,
I would think the
special education.
health benefits account line does too.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
did some research
Yeah.
prior to
Yeah.
years.
Some of those, like the benefits, are sensitive or exposed to obviously personnel and so we'd obviously like to see maybe some cushion built in the future to be able to provide for those things. I think that's something that you would mention that you've seen in the past.
We
and
have to
other
reject
roles.
that.
Yep.
Otherwise, it's going to occur again.
Yeah. Anybody else? I'd like to, I'll extend it to Rich if you have any questions or.
I do. Yeah. So for me, there's a couple of fundamental things I think that we need to address. First and foremost, I think that the processes and controls that are in place are probably insufficient. And I say that from my own personal experience. I get the monthly business report and I read it. And I did not see this until probably May or so. So somewhere along the line, I think things changed. And because of the high level of the business report, it wasn't visible to everyone who would have relied on that to identify some challenges coming forward. I would like to respectfully request that the Board of Ed and Francine and her team review those processes, review those reports, and really look at a different model for how budgets are reviewed. I know the Budget Audit Committee meets. No disrespect to anyone, but I'm not quite sure those reports tell the whole story. Again, I read those reports and I did not see it. So, that being said, I think in order to better understand what should be done on those kinds of reports, I think that we should step back and take a look at a few of these line items and understand when these things changed. For me, when I look at the first two, the certified and non-certified line items that are roughly $200,000 over budget, those did not happen in May and June. I guarantee you that didn't just balloon up at the end of the year. So I think in an effort to figure out what is a better set of reports and a better set of controls, we should go back and look at when those positions were filled and to see if an analysis was done to understand whether those hires would fit in the budget, right? So you have to always go back and project forward, right? There should have been some run rates in there to understand and some projections to see where these things were going to go when those costs were being committed. So as someone who owns the other side of this budget, which is the town side, I can't make a hire without understanding what it does to the overall budget for the entire year. So somewhere along the line, things were committed to that should have been projected forward and brought to the Board of Finance immediately if that was the case. I know there's things in here related to pupil transportation that relates to special education and things like that. Those are very often dictated to us, right? When people change benefits or come onto the plan due to life events, those are costs that tend to be dictated to us. I fully understand that, but they should have been noted immediately and projected forward with an estimate of what it was going to do to the overall budget and should have been brought to the Board of Finance at the time that it was identified. I think if we put some better processes and better controls and reporting in place, we'll be able to manage that in a more effective manner going forward. That's my first comment. I know it was a long one. Hang in there. The second one's shorter. I'm very concerned about this year's budget. The 26-27 budget, I have a very low confidence that we have a full understanding of where we're going to be. And where we need to be is exactly where the taxpayers decided. That's where we need to be. So it is July, right? So whatever changes need to be made immediately. We cannot exceed what the taxpayers gave us. That would be very disrespectful. So those are my comments. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. So if there's no other comments or questions as it relates to the board with regards to this, I think we've discussed considerations, things we're thinking about, and what we'd like to see in the next term in a couple of weeks when we meet again in our regular meeting. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself or a member of the board, help clarify or get some direction on anything. And then otherwise, I think that we can discuss this again in a couple of weeks when you guys have had a chance to do a little deeper dive on what's going on. Tracy, the only other thing I was thinking about is to the extent special ed has increased, does that increase the revenue item as it relates to?
It does, but again, that's always off a year, so you don't
Yeah.
get the increase in the excess cost money until the following budget.
And we
So,
budget prior year revenue for current year. Okay.
right.
Okay. All right. Do you guys have any comments or questions as it relates to the discussion?
In terms of the requests and the comments from First Selectman Slayo, I mean, I agree. I agree with him. We need to have those conversations. We need to have, so as a board, we have a fiduciary responsibility And I've heard tonight comments from members of the Board of Finance that this is the budget that the town approved. It's also the budget and the budget amount that the board approved with the numbers and the knowledge that we had at the time. Look forward to getting closer to what was proposed and agreed to by all involved, working collaboratively with employees within our administration, with the town, Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen, and I personally would like to thank both First Selectman Saleo and Board of Finance Chair Freemuth for their support, their collaboration, and their communication throughout this process, as well as our staff that have been working on this in Thomaston Public Schools. Look, Thomaston, sometimes stuff gets tough. We come together and we figure it out. It's what we do. We'll do it again. And it looks tough for next year. We'll get to the bottom of it. We'll make the hard decisions and we'll move forward in a manner that best protects and prepares our students for the future, while also protecting the hard-earned dollars of our taxpayers. So other than that, I mean, thank you guys for having us. I wish, of course, it was under better connotations and circumstances, but we'll move forward from here and get it done. So thank you.
Thank you guys for all the hard work leading up to tonight and all the hard work that I know we're gonna have to undertake, but much appreciated. Appreciate you guys being here. With that, we'll move on to the last item of new business to discuss and or approve the Old Northfield Road tie and bond off-site mitigation engineering. So with that, I'll send it back over to you, Rich.
Yep, thank you. So I think I've been before this board before, keeping you updated on the Old Northfield Road project. That is an area where we disturbed a stream bed and we have to repair it. So we've been working with the DEP and have submitted a plan for what we're going to do. They have given us sort of a preliminary okay, but they came right back with the need for us to do work somewhere else in town. So basically, it's almost like instead of fining us for doing this, they're making us rehab another stream bed. Bank, sorry, not bed. So the stream bank we identified, they gave us the criteria. It has to be roughly the same length as the stream bed we disturbed. We did find a piece of property, which is town-owned, which is at the transfer station, that would fit the bill. It's got a lot of invasive species. And what we presented to them was a concept whereby we would go in on that stream bank and we would rip out all the invasive species and replant with native species. We talked about what type of native species and things like that. So they've given us they're sort of okay in principle, but now we have to go design the plan. So we've been working with Tie and Bond on this initiative throughout. This is out of the scope of the original engineering because we didn't know they were going to come back and make us mitigate a whole nother section of stream bank. So there is a cost for this work and it's $10,000 for this phase. I will tell you, as part of this plan, we will be required to monitor that area for 5 years. I will be back here in a while with a monitoring plan that will be part of the overall project once we go ahead and start the project. But right now, when they came back and said, yeah, we agree with what you're thinking, we like the location, and we think it's an appropriate reparation for what you did on Old Northfield Road, they also handed us a 30-day clock. So we are about 14 days into that 30-day clock. So we kind of need to move forward on getting a final design that we submit to them. The cost is $10,000.
Anybody
I'd
have?
like to make a motion that we employ the firm of Ty and Bond to perform services of task 1 and 2 in the correction and remediation of the incident on
That's fine. In the amount of $10,000.
$10,000.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
You gotta say from where.
Where are we gonna fund it
Yeah.
from here? Contingency.
You
No.
think, or you think the capital?
Let's do capital.
Yeah.
We're gonna need the contingency.
We're gonna need the contingency.
Yeah. Do we want the, at a capital? Yep. Jack,
Was the motion just task 1 or both?
1 and
tasks?
2. Yep. The amount of 10,000 to be funded out of capital.
Capital.
Thank you.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Take a moment. If anybody has any comments on anything that we've discussed this evening. Or any questions they'd like to raise.
Rich. It's okay, man.
Yeah, fire away.
Did Ty and Bond give you an idea as to when we'll have, some kind of like a work plan put together for this? I know we're on the clock.
Yeah, they're sort of working on it now. They'll have it before the deadline. Yeah, so 3 weeks-ish. So
So we're close. but-
we'll be close, but they'll make it.
Philip Davison is first selectman's report in 2 weeks.
Probably.
Which will be back on the agenda. Will be back on the agenda. Anybody else?
I just want to make mention of the fact that when we're talking about where we should be going in the next month or two, I think a freeze for unnecessary spending and no new hires is the absolute minimum.
Mhm.
And it may take cutting the budget and to make up that money, because you're not gonna make up $500,000 cutting out school books again.
Mhm.
So they have to look at deeper than just holding the line.
Yeah, and again, I just want to reiterate that the number that was on there was just a simplified 26 spend plus. So they need to go back and look at what their 27 budget is.
Mm.
And what happened in 26. And get a good understanding of what happened in 26 and will or will not happen in 27. And then build that into whatever other tasks need to happen to get that budget to where we're trying to get it. Anybody else? No? All right. So with that, I'll open it to public comment. For public comment, I'd ask that all questions are directed to the board, to myself, and then we can, if we need to, we can get the assistance from somebody else. And yeah, probably best to come up, name, address, and ask your question. Yes, please. Only, and that's only because, not because it's Frank and I want to give him a hard time. It's because there are a number of people online. And this is how they'll be able to hear the full communication.
Brian Treglia, 222 Clay Street. So a question, you guys just voted on the bid for the air conditioning, and there's no question of the low bid. I don't know if it's for this board to answer the question, but why are we paying double for an attorney for the school when somebody else was half the price? I mean, have they budgeted double plus for that attorney for the next year? Because you're using them the same. I was on the board.
Yep.
You could use them more. You're never gonna use them less.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
have they budgeted?
So-
that
so-
far
So I,
plus?
so I'd say that I don't believe so. And we can certainly ask the board. Their spending is at the discretion of the board. we work with them based on the budget that they provide us and approve that budget based on how it aligns with the overall town budget. So the allocation of those funds is again, at the discretion of the board. So to the extent that they didn't budget that doubling of the cost, which it doesn't feel like they did based on the results, that's something that we're asking them to revisit as they look at the 26-27.
Is this new attorney started in November, December. So now we have a whole.
Yeah, and that's something that they'll have to take into consideration as they try to get back to the budget that that the town has approved.
It's a big, it's a big number difference.
It is, it is. Yeah,
That's it.
okay, thank you, Frank.
Thank you.
Come on up, Julie.
Julie Ingham, 70 Elm Street. I guess what I want to know is, I was at the Board of Ed meeting in June and nothing about this was brought up. When did people become aware of this?
Probably not too long after that.
Okay.
But that is part of the discussion that we're having and that Rich brought up, which is we need a cleaner and more concise line of communication as it relates to items such as this, as financial items that we need to help address or address. So some of the items, as I noted, we were aware of. Some of them weren't communicated as clearly or communicated as we would like to see. So yes, I think that this has taken us a little bit by surprise, and I think it's taken some of the board a little bit by surprise because maybe it wasn't communicated as clearly at that level too. But I don't want to speak to the board's communication or when they may or may not have known about it. But for us, it was certainly in the past month or so.
So where's the money going to come from?
Well, first we need to understand what the number is, which is why we're asking them to go back and let's sharpen our pencils on this because as I noted, there's a few moving pieces. There's some items that we were aware of that we've already budgeted for from contingency. So what we have here on this piece of paper is just everything that net what they were over. But we understand that there's certain items such as some early increases to the benefits as well as some HVAC repairs that we've already provided contingency for in our budget. So what we need to do is go back, look at that, look at encumbrances and understand what the exact number is, and then we'll have to figure that out.
Maybe hirings that weren't supposed to happen, or that was a big number?
Yeah, again,
Salaries?
again, I'd have to defer to the Board of Education on that,
Okay.
but as as Rich alluded to, some increases in salaries probably happened earlier on that certainly drove this change.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Dave Calvecchio, 52 Lunar Drive West. We're on the solution side of things, as far as, not to point fingers, but to find a solution. I point to a tactic that, or a tool that, Fortune 50 and big manufacturers use, Six Sigma type of tools, one of which would be like 5 whys. And I suggest this for like every problem actually in town could use this type of approach, from anything from the town garage to the firehouse to the Board of Education. And basically what 5 whys is you start with a question like, why did our teacher line go over? And you could just sit there and say, well, because we couldn't find a BS1 teacher to fill the positions, we had to hire an MS1 at $5,000 more a year. And then you say, well, why couldn't we find a BS1? And then you say to yourself, well, because there's a shortage. Well, okay, why is there a shortage? And you can go down to things like, are we marketing ourselves properly? Are we looking in the right places to find the BS1 teacher that we're looking for? Is our recruitment techniques in places where we're trying to recruit, is that sufficient? And until you find the root cause of the problem, it's just a cycle, and we're never going to get beyond the budget problems here. So my suggestions is to Nate, and I will be more than happy to sit with any Board of Ed member to explain some of these processes that Fortune 50 manufacturers and big manufacturers in America use like GE and RTX and the rest of them to find root causes and to find the real problems to solve the problem. So I'll avail myself
Yeah.
to anybody for that. So
No, I appreciate that. I'm very familiar myself with the Six Sigma and whatnot. And I think that it's something that could appropriately be deployed there and probably something that we could use as we think about the communication breakdown and trying to clean that up going forward as well. So thank you.
I'd just like to mention that education has constraints that private enterprise doesn't have. And it's,
yeah, but you know what, George,
They're pretty universal tools.
jet engine and running an office, they have a lot of similarities because when you have a problem, you have to really look and say, okay, why are we having this problem? Why? So whether it's manufacturing, whether it's purchasing town trucks or hiring teachers, you can still use the same tools like the 5 whys and fishbone diagrams. There's a whole lot of tools out there to use. But those kinds of tools where you sit there and you literally break it down and you ask a question, you answer the question. You ask that question as to why that is, why we got that answer. You keep going, and sooner or later you drill down to the real root of the problem, and that's what you solve, is that problem.
could be the state of Connecticut.
In some cases it can, in which case that we would understand that as other things are, they're dictated to us, right? But there's also some things that aren't. that
Sometimes
we have-
taxes go up. George.
Yep.
So
Yep. Anybody else? No?
We do it. Steve Carr, Hickory Hill Road. As a former Board of Ed member, I just wanted to ask, I have to direct to look towards this board, but a question that might need to be asked of the Board of Ed is when we had the budget audit committees meetings, which had a report that was displayed in the link for the regular meeting minutes. So everyone should have had on there access to it. And it also had a percentage of use per year. That was a tally up there. So what the anticipated amount was, there's a percentage next to it for the budget line. I don't know if that's changed or not, but that might be one direct. And I believe they're still doing the budget workshop, which I believe is open to the public, but I know it's to the Board of Finance and Board of Ed also. When we met with the budget audit committee meetings, we would have the discussions when those line items were getting to be to a certain area. So I don't know if there's a report or something that might be able to be given to help with that transparency. Because there's generally a discussion measure that was taken during those meetings that did have those details. So maybe it's something that could be requested of the Board of Finance from those meetings, a little update, and to get some foresight for future things might be requested.
Great, I appreciate that.
Hey, Lou, can I jump in?
Absolutely.
Steve just reminded me, because I used to say it to him all the time, the percentage piece on the Board of Ed is a little bit misleading because teachers are allowed to stretch their pay and get paid over the summer. So there's 2 paychecks in July and 2 in August that are charged back to the old budget. And they are in these numbers before you ask. They've already been posted to the old budget, but the checks don't go out. So when you're looking at a percentage in May, where you're thinking you're 11 months done, you're not really, because there's still 2 more months of payroll that goes out after the fact. So
So is that answering Rich's question? Did you see that number in those reports in May?
I think all he saw were the lines that were pointed out that were over. So those were included.
But I think to that point, that's information that we have,
Mhm.
right? So it just needs to be communicated.
Yeah.
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 Dan Finer, 62 Grand Street. Following up on your statement, Tracy, don't we include that in the encumbrances lines?
Not payroll,
We do not.
not payroll, no.
All right. And I would just like to reiterate that I am on the budget committee and we do look at this budget every month. And we are made aware of the overages, but we also, which we do communicate to you, and we have communicated them since the beginning of February. And so I just respectfully disagree that those numbers were not in reports, because I read the reports, I know that number was in for the benefits line and
The
the,
table didn't change
No.
for 4 months. I can show you
It
where
was
the
the,
table.
it was
didn't
the
change.
$89,000.
It said 89,000 the whole time. You
200.
had it
Not
off in the
till-
comments in the last couple months. What I'm saying is that didn't crop up in the last couple months. There's no way you could get to 200,000, which would have driven the benefits up to 309, which I believe is what that number was, but it was off in the comments, right? There was a comment before that that said, oh, this line looks like it's 90 something percent spent, but the 89,000 never changed in that table. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not, look, I'm guilty, right? Because I'll be honest with you. I go down that column and I look at what those stated overages are. I don't read all the comments to see what the real number is. I don't do that. It's my fault.
No,
You can blame me. I'm just saying, as someone who reads those reports every month, I did not see it in there. All I'm saying is, I want to make sure that we have the right processes and the right tools to make the most informed decisions.
I agree with that. I just, that the number was in there. It may not have been clear enough, but the number was there. And with regards to special education, when we do have our budget workshop, we meet with the Board of Finance and we agree that we don't know what the outplacements are going to be, because that changes all the time. So we do not budget extra money in the board of the special education line to cover outplaces that come up. So are you asking us to reconsider that?
I gotta be honest with you, Roxy, that out of the $500,000, that's $70,000. That's not our biggest problem. And that's an item that we deal with every year. So I don't know that we need a process change there. We can certainly think about it if we think that we can get a more accurate number. But if that number is different every year. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, because it's all based on the students and
Yep.
what services they need. I don't think that that's the item that we're issuing.
And I will discuss hiring of teachers too, because, George is asking us to put on a hiring freeze. But if you're asking us to serve our students and there is a need for a teacher, we are going to hire the best teacher that's available. Now,
We
need
understand
to
that, but you as a board,
budget-
have made a commitment to the town
We have,
for a budget.
and I agree
And,
with
and
that.
to the extent that you make those decisions, then you need to understand what it's doing to the budget as an overall position. And that wasn't done. I think is what Rich has brought up and what we're seeing based on the results from the year. So I agree that we want to offer the best services that we can to our students, but we've also made a commitment, and you as a board member have a fiduciary duty to deliver that budget.
I understand that. And when we hire someone, we do look at what that impact that has on the budget. And do we need to take a better look at that? I will agree with that, yes. But we are not neglecting our fiduciary responsibilities. We are taking it seriously and we do look at the budget every month. So
Okay.
I would just like to say.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the public?
You want to go online, Luke?
We can. Is there and good? All right, we can
If anyone on the Zoom call would like to make a comment, please unmute yourself. I will remind you, we would like you to state your name and your address, please.
seeing no unmutes. I would entertain an motion for adjournment. Well, somebody else can do it, George.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries.